For the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world, we are live and amplified. So let's get ready to podcast.
Fire it up.
Welcome, everybody, to another live and amplified livecast. I'm your host, Tom Quiet, and we are back at it again with another amazing podcast. Today, we have a very special guest. We have Meghan Polis. How's it going today, Meghan?
Hey, it's good, Tom. How are you?
Doing pretty good. I'm glad I got your last name right.
You nailed it.
I'm excited. I'm trying my best to be better at that because usually I just butcher last names, but I'm glad I was able to get it right. So, but this podcast has been in the works for a little bit. I know we talked back in beginning of February, I want to say it was, about trying to get something scheduled. And then obviously schedules being what schedules be, it's not always that easy to get something set up. So I'm just really excited to sit down and chat with you. I did want to take this opportunity to thank you for being a part of the PanCan fundraiser that we had back in November. That was a huge success. And we just announced recently that we're going to do that again this November because they really want to work with us again. So I'm trying to figure out in what capacity that's going to look like because 3 days was insane.
Yeah.
I don't know. We're kind of working it out and all the logistics of everything, but yeah. So cool. Just wanted to take the opportunity to thank you for being a part of that inaugural event.
Yeah, that was a pleasure. That was a great event.
So, but before we jump into the new single and talking about what you got going on, let's kind of take this opportunity to have you to reintroduce yourself to everyone and like what your background in music is.
Yeah, so my name is Meghan Polis. I am a singer-songwriter out of Brooklyn, New York City currently. I basically view songwriting and music as a way to heal myself through various emotions. And I also want my listeners to kind of go through that same journey. I write a lot about very real things such as anxiety, depression, traumas, and it is and self-doubt and shame and guilt and all of those things. And basically I've been in the singer-songwriter game for I wrote my first song when I was 17, but I wasn't really taking it super seriously. I was kind of doing it on the side, even through college when I got my degree in opera. And then I moved to New York and I kind of decided that this was something that I felt calling for. And this was something that this was my purpose in life, was to help people heal through music.
Cool. And where are you from originally, since you moved to New York?
I'm originally from Orlando, Florida. It's a suburb called Winter Springs, sort of 35 minutes away from Disney World.
Gotcha. Yeah. I became somewhat familiar with Orlando. I interned at Disney when I was in college. So
got it. Okay.
We were all over in Celebration. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That is the weirdest thing to get through. It's like you go through Celebration, but it's like Disney extended into that area.
I know, it's really interesting. I've only been to Celebration like once, and I actually had surgery in a hospital in Celebration, and it was literally like a Disney hospital. Yeah. Like there was nothing scary about that experience, and I was like, I feel like this is not good because I'm going to expect every hospital to look like this. But
luckily I never went to a hospital. I was only there for like 6 months, but just going to the store and there's just like Mickey Mouse sitting right there. And I'm like, all right, this is a little, and then McDonald's themed, Disney themed McDonald's, it's all a little
Can't get away from it.
Yeah, for sure. But no, that's cool. And so then you moved up to New York for school, or did you move there after school?
No, so I went to Florida State University in Tallahassee, Florida. I got my degree in vocal performance, and then I was home for maybe 3 months kind of transitioning, and then I made the move to New York. I think when I was that same year when I had just graduated, there was like a 3-month gap, and then I came here and I've been here almost 10 years.
Gotcha. How did you like Tallahassee? And I'll explain why I'm asking you in a minute.
Well, I can tell you that the locals call it Trashy for a reason, but I mean, it was a good education. I'm going to say that, Florida State gave me a really solid music education. And I think that that's one thing I liked. In terms of the city, I've been to the city since I lived there, and it's definitely improved, but it used to be very sketchy.
Well, so I bring that up because, so when I left college, I was looking at going to get my master's at FSU.
Oh, okay.
I got a bachelor's in cinema, and I was looking to get my master's.
Oh, yeah, because the film school is really good. Yeah.
And then I decided not to. And then, as luck would have it, 4 years later, I got a job in Tallahassee, ended up moving there. Couldn't stand it because it was so humid there all the time. It was always so humid. And I'm not a big fan of Tallahassee.
Yeah, the weather.
I got a lot of friends that live in Tallahassee, but it's like, no, it's not for me, guys. I'm sorry.
Well, yeah, I think you have to be like a specific kind of person to be able to stand the weather.
That is true. Very, very true. But no, that's why I asked. So when you brought up FSU, I'm just sitting here. I'm like, all right, let's see where this one goes.
Yeah. No. Oh, cool.
I kind of wish I would have went to FSU for grad school or for my master's, but I don't know if I could have handled the insane tuition that I would have probably ended up paying as an out-of-state person. So
yeah.
Cool. So you moved up to New York, and is that when you kind of started exploring music as a profession, or where does that kind of start playing in?
Yeah, I mean, my dad is a musician, my uncles are all musicians, so I grew up around music, and I always grew up around just playing music and whatever. And I have always kind of just done songwriting as a way to emote for myself in my bedroom. And I just was kind of doing that. And I found myself doing it a little bit more because I was going to auditions and feeling and going on terrible dates with these men who clearly just didn't treat me very well or whatever. But I would just turn to music to just release those emotions of why this guy didn't call me back, or why this guy ghosted me, all of those things that we go through when we are in our 20s. And so I just started kind of keeping it in my bedroom, and then I was getting different little signs from people in the universe saying hey, what you're doing is kind of affecting people. So maybe you should, try to play out and see if you can, affect more people, get more people. And I ended up living living above a record executive. He was a Def Jam record producer or whatever, my first apartment in New York. And I saw him in the hallway once, and he was like, "Hey, are you singing and playing?" And I'm like,
yeah.
I'm I'm sorry, I'm really loud. And he's like, "No, man, no, you're good. You gotta keep going." And I'm like, "What?" Okay.
Nice.
So, little things like that. And then I started playing some, actually the first venue that I ever shared my music at was the Bitter End, which is, a very well-known historical venue in New York City. And I went to their singer-songwriter sessions. They have this thing on Sundays where they take all of these new budding singer-songwriters and they put them on stage, and you do a set. And it's really kind of a way for you to feel out your music and to share your music with people. And yeah, I did it. And I felt oh my gosh, this feels very good to me. And I'm still getting this feeling of live performing that I kind of missed from opera, right? Because I was in shows and all this stuff and concerts. I'm still going on stage, but I'm going on stage and I'm telling my story. I'm telling what happened to me. I feel like I'm being more impactful than I would if I was like in an opera and playing someone else. Mm-hmm. It just feels very like vulnerable and honest and raw. And I feel very empowered, more fulfilled than any other thing I've ever done.
Yeah, for sure. So, yeah. Because I see kind of where you're coming from, because playing by yourself on stage, people are coming there to see you. Yeah. Whereas being in an opera, they're coming to see the show, maybe not necessarily you.
Right.
And so I could see where that's definitely a lot more fulfilling and satisfying.
Yep.
Given, the situation. So
definitely.
So you were singing opera while you were in Orlando, correct? Or were you still doing it when you were in New York?
So yeah, my first couple of years, I was still kind of auditioning. I was in an opera in the Bronx. I was in La Boheme in the opera chorus. Not really feeling it. Just kind of like, okay, I'm going to do this. Like, this is my degree. I'm going to try to do this. But in terms of like fulfillment, I've never connected to opera the way that I connect to music, like actual like singing music. Like, I guess I view music and opera differently.
Yeah.
Opera is like an art form and like very like blah, 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 like very showy and whatever. And music is just like about emotion. And like, that's just kind of how I view it. So I think I tried to do that. And I got the opera degree originally for basically because I felt like everyone was telling me that's what you need to do. That's what you need to do. That's what you need to do. And at that point I was kind of just like doing it because people told me I was good at it. Right. Like I just was like, okay, like I know that I have that gift, but it was never something that like lit me up. It was always something that was like, okay, you have this gift, you can do this, but it doesn't get me as excited as like going into a recording studio and like working on a new song. Like absolutely not.
Yeah. Now was singing opera or performing in opera, however you want to word it. Now, was that like paying the bills at that point in your life, or were you still having to go get a regular job?
No, okay. I had a lot of weird jobs that I was doing, including I worked as an extra.
Okay.
I was an extra in the TV show Smash in season 2 a lot. I called myself like a recurring featured extra because they would call me all the time, and you can see me in a lot of the episodes. So that was fun. And then I did the second Spider-Man 2 movie with Andrew Garfield. I was in the background for that. Like I just did like silly stuff, like picking up like random gigs and, so I definitely wasn't, I think I received a stipend for the opera I was in, but I think it was like $150.
Gotcha.
So that's just not right.
Gotcha. Yeah. I've done the extra thing before. That's always a wild.
Oh my gosh. So cool.
Always a wild experience.
It feels like you're in summer camp.
Yeah.
Right. And like you've got the kids who are like super stoked to be there. And then you got the kids that are doing this like maybe because they just like need the money. It's just really interesting.
Yeah. And then there's also the third type that this is their job. Like,
yes, exactly.
So they're like, oh, are you doing this on Tuesday? No. Oh, here, I'll get you in contact with the extra casting extra.
That's so true. Person. Yeah.
I'm like, look, this happened to be shooting on a Sunday. I was free on a Sunday, so I came up. I was on that.
I'm not booking myself. Like I don't want to be a professional extra.
Yeah. I was in I did the Independence Day sequel.
Oh shit, cool.
I was on set for like 18 hours. It was ridiculous.
Oh my God. Yeah. So, we did like an overnight and it was a shit show. It was it was so bad because like we were like on a bus to Long Island and then like they had like fake Times Square and like it was like storming and they wouldn't shut it down. They were like, no, we're not going to shut down. We're going to go. We're going to get it. We're going to get what we get. And then they put us in danger and like they didn't care. And then like it like lightning struck the set and then the set fell down and then they were like roll And then they like got people running for their lives. And I think that's what they used in the movie. I'm just like, you're just like putting us in danger.
That's like illegal.
But they don't care. Yeah, it's illegal and they don't care though. They're like, these people. But yeah, we were there from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m.
Yeah.
And I was like, what is my life? Like, this is unhealthy for me.
Yeah. I was because at the time I was living in New Mexico. I was living in Roswell, New Mexico. The film was being shot in Albuquerque. Okay. And so I had to drive 3 hours just to get to set, which, okay, fine. You know, I just kind of wanted the experience. I get there and I was supposed to be playing a civilian is what I'm told. And they're like, okay, I get there. I go through the whole booking process. And I'm already been there for like 3 hours. We're getting ready to go out. And they're like, hey, you, one of our soldiers just canceled on us for our night shoot. We need you to hang back and you're going to be a soldier instead. I'm like, all right. So they're like, so you could either stay here, hang out, get paid, and just kind of eat catering for the rest of the day until your shoot time or your call time. I was like, well, when's my call time? 7 p.m. And I'm like, it's 11 a.m. right now. Oh my God. They're like, yeah, you can just sit here and get paid. And I'm like, all right. So I sat there, ate their food, and just was on my phone the entire day. And then come in, and I was on set for another 8 hours after that. And I was only like shot for like 45 minutes, and I fell asleep on set. It was amazing.
You literally got paid to sleep and eat. That's amazing.
Yep. So
yeah,
it was one of those what is my life moments. So
totally relatable.
Yep. So now you're fully focused on your music. Opera's kind of in the background, or do you ever see yourself kind of getting back and trying opera again, or is it just that not creatively fulfilling?
Not really. I do, like, you know, I have been working on my debut album, and I am going to be starting to incorporate that skill that I have. I think I have realized that it kind of really makes me stand out if I do sort of play with it and insert it, because, you know, who else is doing that right now? So I think like being innovative and saying, yes, you can sing really high. So like you should sing really high, even if it's not, you know, an opera. Maybe you can make it work like in your folk songs and stuff. So I think I will be continuing to sing that way, but I won't be career focused with it.
Gotcha. Yeah. That makes perfect sense. Makes absolutely perfect sense.
Yeah. And maybe one day, like, I'll write an opera. I don't know, you know?
Yeah. You never know. Like I was on my phone talking to my dad before you came on, and he was asking me about a radio show that we used to do. And he was like, hey, is that thing dead? And I'm like, no, nothing in my life is ever dead until I'm no longer here. As long as I'm alive, everything that I've ever had going on, there's always a chance that it could come back around.
Right.
So
exactly. I like that.
It was just an interesting conversation. So, so no, that's cool. And kind of jumping into your current project and what you're working on, you're getting ready to release a single on Friday. What's kind of the story behind that song? What's the name of it? You know?
Yeah, so it's called Rabbit Hole. And I wrote it with my friends Teresa and Jesse over the internet. This is another over the internet song. We did not even have a Zoom about it. Like we literally just back and forth. She had the idea like for the melody and the first verse, and she literally Facebook memoed me over it. I took my ukulele, I added onto it, I sent it back to her, and we kind of did that. And then we brought Jesse in to do the production for it. And yeah, it's a really different sound for me. I think I've really enjoyed, just innovating my sound. I think that it's just kind of boring to be like, well, like this worked and this worked, but like, why don't we have like new instruments, new background vocals, like new layers? Like, so I'm really kind of excited for how like innovative this is and how different in the production. And this is actually like just one of Jesse's like first, I think, produced things that he's having out there, which is exciting for him. And yeah, the concept of it is it's sort of based on, I mean, when you think of rabbit hole, you think of, falling down into something that, so for this, like basically falling for someone who might not be good for you, changing so much for them that you lose yourself, which I think is something we can all relate to.
Oh, yeah.
And then to play with that, we have the Alice in Wonderland reference. So it's kind of like that story, but then there's also reference to Alice in Wonderland within it, which kind of makes it more mystical, atmospheric, and magical and stuff.
Cool. And so this is, I take it, it's a pandemic project?
It was a pandemic project, yes. Mm-hmm.
I hate coining that phrase. I hate the fact that I had to coin that phrase, but it's the world we live in now. So
pandemic, yeah.
Nice. So how long is it there? When did you start working on Rabbit Hole?
We wrote it last year. I think we started messaging about it last January. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's been almost a year. It's been over a year since we decided to put it out, and it's ready for, the world to hear it.
Nice. And you said it's leading to a full-length album, right? Or did it?
No, so this is another like separate thing. Okay. So it's funny because I'm keeping all of my album stuff like very under wraps, probably until early next year.
Gotcha.
Because it's not going to be released until April of 2023.
Okay, gotcha.
We got pushed back a little bit, like, stuff happens, money, figuring that out. But we're finally in a good track with it. And we've recorded 3 songs out of the, I think, like 10 or 11 main songs, and then 2 of them I think are going to be just like bonus songs because I was like, I need to have 13 songs. Like I was bored on the 13th. 13 is my lucky number. I was like, I can't just have 10. Like
it needs to be 13.
Got other songs. What?
Gotcha. I said it needs to be 13.
It needs to be. Yeah.
Nice.
So.
No, that's cool. So are you working on any like a music video for Rabbit Hole, or has that not been?
Yeah, that's been like hard to do, like hard to think about. I might put I do have a lyric video that's coming out for it. So at least I have a visual representation. I might try to do a DIY thing or something, but my head's kind of like focused on, because I leave for South by Southwest on Wednesday. So.
I was going to bring that up because I saw you're going to be about an hour and a half from me. So.
Oh, wow. Cool.
Yep.
Oh my gosh.
I saw that and I was like, dang it. I wish because I was just thumbing through your Spotify and I was like, dang it. I should have just brought that up and been like, hey, I could meet you down in Austin. It's an hour and a half drive for me. It's not a thing.
Shit.
So, but yeah, so that's really cool. We'll definitely talk about that here in a second.
Yeah.
For Rabbit Hole, since it was kind of born during the pandemic and you were kind of confined to the restraints of doing it online via Messenger, like you handle your part, they handle their part, like all the different parties handle their own part.
Yeah.
How does that kind of differ from how what your usual creative process is?
I mean, honestly, I have gotten so used to, and I think it's because the pandemic, I've gotten so used to remote collaboration. It's kind of like, it's crazy how you can be in a different place from someone and your energies are still like connected and you're still building the song together. Like you're still able to to add it. I mean, I haven't had a real life in-person co-write in probably like 2 years.
Yeah.
So I don't even know how I would be able to. I'm sure I would be able, it'd be like the same thing, but it's so much more interesting and fun for me to be like in a different place. And this is what we did, right?
Yeah. It's wild that it's been 2 years. Like it is
so wild.
Like I just looked at the calendar and it's like, oh, hey, Wednesday. That means it'll be 2 years since I got sent home from work and told that it'll be 2 weeks, 2 years later. And here we sit. So it's pretty
crazy. Yeah. This is like the week I think they kept us home too. I remember that.
How's things been going in New York recently? Like, are they starting to chill out, or are you doing live shows, or what's kind of going on in New York?
I mean, yeah, they're definitely chilling out. I think that they're calming down with it. I think, they're not pushing the booster anymore. That's what they were doing. They were literally bribing New Yorkers to get the booster to give them $100. They're not doing that anymore. I think people are a lot more like they have their guard down a little bit more. And I think it's feeling kind of more normal. Like we still have to wear masks on the subway. Oh, wow. And people still wear them inside because they feel more comfortable and like whatever, I don't really care. Whatever you think is more comfortable, like that's how you should live, in my opinion. So
yeah, for sure.
But yeah, I think it's like, it feels like the seas are calming, right? Like we haven't, knock on wood, we have not heard of like a new variant or anything that would come and like screw everything up again.
Yeah, for the most, because like now at work, they're like, oh, hey, if you're not in a high risk area, you can go to work without a mask. Or if you're county or whatever, like the county that you're based out of, you don't have to wear a mask. And it's like, oh, that's amazing. So it was a little weird at the beginning. Like, I feel a little naked because you've been like 2 years wearing a mask.
Yeah.
But now it's just kind of like, I don't really want to go back to wearing a mask. So.
Yeah, it does feel like a little weird. Like, and it does feel a little wrong. So like, I get you, like, but it's also like, okay, like we're in a better place now. So like, that should calm our anxiety, of course. For sure.
So kind of jumping back over to the release, you've got the new single out, dropping on Friday. I almost said out now. It's not out now. It's coming out Friday.
Yeah.
And then you're doing the release show in Austin. Was that intentional, or did it all just kind of happen to work out that way?
That all totally happened. I was originally only going to Austin to play on Saturday. And then I was like putting it out into the universe like I do. I was like, I'd love to play another show. I just like miss playing live. And then it turns out that B Squared, which is a management company, they're doing all day music events, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And they were in need of some artists. And I got that opportunity to play at Oasis Texas Brewery, which actually I've never played at a brewery. So I'm kind of excited about that.
Nice.
Checking off some new venues, but it all just kind of came together, and I haven't played a show live in like 5 months. So I've really been missing that aspect of being in person with people and, having them feel my like real life energy rather than just like through a screen. So
for sure. I might have to reach out to B Squared since they're doing a whole thing down in Austin.
Yeah.
Since I've done a lot of work with them, like I've met worked with a lot of their musicians. So
yeah.
Note to self, do that tomorrow.
Yeah, do that.
And you're going to be there Friday. Are you also still performing on Saturday as well, or just the Friday show?
Yeah, I'm playing on Saturday. So Saturday I'm playing at Darwin's, which apparently is like heart of downtown, which is cool. So it'll be, I get in on Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
My mom's actually coming with me, so that'll be nice.
Have you ever been to Austin before?
No.
Yeah. Well,
but I've heard that it's a beautiful place. And
I've only been through Austin. I've never been to, so, which is a weird thing to say, but it's also the accurate thing to say.
Yeah.
Like, because I used to say, "Oh, I've been there," and then I've literally stopped at a gas station. And I was like,
Okay.
"You've been through, like you've never been to Austin." So,
right.
So
yeah. And I'm sure like the energy, like I've heard the energy of South by is like really just something else. So
yeah, that would be the only reason I don't come down, is because I don't want to have to deal with all that. But
sure.
If it's a situation where it's like, okay, we're all going to be at one place and I can kind of just have my stuff under control, that's probably one thing. But yeah. So that's interesting. I will reach out to a couple of my B squared contacts and see what's going on. So no, it's cool that you're coming down to Austin, and it just kind of happens to coincide with the release of the single, and intentionally, unintentionally, it's still really cool. How does it feel to get back out there and play after not really playing over the last 2 years?
I'm really excited because, I've been writing a lot. And so I'm always really excited to take a song from my bedroom to a stage. I think it's a really amazing and special thing to get to share that with people.
For sure. So kind of going back to your whole writing process, you'd mentioned earlier in the podcast that a lot of your songs, or all your songs, kind of circle around self-care, mental health, and stuff of that nature. Is that something that's always been a connection for you, or when did you kind of start working that into your music?
Yeah, honestly, I think my songwriting is very like storytelling. It's very honest. It's very vulnerable. It's very open, and it's very much like, maybe sometimes if I'm talking about a particular situation, like I will change the perspective on it, maybe, or maybe I'll fabricate like some characters, and as we do, like songwriters exaggerate, we make stuff up. Like it's not necessarily going to be maybe 100%, but it's going to be as authentic as we can make it.
For sure.
So sort of taking that stance on it.
Yeah, for sure. And it's just kind of using your music to convey a deeper level of things, whether it be mental health, because I've said for the longest time, especially throughout the tenure of this podcast, that mental health is something that musicians tend to ignore.
Yes, very true.
Just because, and whether it's intentional, unintentional, or just the world they grew up in, you got musicians that are going up on stage and making themselves as emotionally vulnerable as possible on a nightly basis or weekly basis, however often it is they perform, taking themselves back to these bad moments in their lives or scary moments or whatever, and not having a way of coping with it or bringing themselves down or out of that space after performing. And then that's where like the self-medicating comes in, whether it's drinking, drugs, whatever it is. And so just kind of bringing awareness to that entire I don't even want to call it thing, because it's more than a thing, but just like bringing awareness to mental health for musicians is really cool and really important. And I wish a lot more musicians would take note as to their mental health and take it seriously. So
no, it's definitely true. And if you are constantly living in that space and you're constantly reliving the mental stuff that happened to you, and then you're not going and doing something to clear yourself of that, that's how you turn to alcohol and drugs and things that negatively impact your life.
Yep. And especially after the pandemic of everybody staying home for 2 years, and just kind of sitting with your thoughts. Like myself, I was able to be like, manage my thoughts and just kind of reevaluate what I'm doing and who I am and where I want to go.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of musicians that they sit inside their own head, not necessarily the best place for them to be.
No, definitely not.
But so I just wanted to kind of bring that up and applaud you for bringing that into your music and addressing it. And hopefully it's helping somebody like come to terms or seek help if they need it. Was there ever a point that a song that you were working on talking about mental health unintentionally kind of ran parallel to an experience you had?
So I wrote this song this past summer called Lonely Town. And when I was writing it, I kind of was like telling a story. And I was like, I kind of viewed it as like a story song. But then I like read the lyrics and I was like, you're basically like, you're being so vulnerable. And like, this Lonely Town is about depression. This is not just like a story. You're talking about how you have depression. And I was like, whoa, okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. So I think like recording and releasing that felt so healing for me. It was like, it's okay that you have depression.
Yeah.
It's okay. Not every day is going to be sunshiny.
Yeah.
Like, so yeah, I think that was an instance where I wrote that song and I was like, I didn't realize how impactful it was until it was out.
Yeah. Or how close to home it actually hit.
And how close to home it hit me.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I definitely see that, where it's like, because, music, it's one of those things where the creator tends to draw from personal experiences. And even if you put yourself in a position where it's like, okay, I'm just creating stories and I'm telling or conveying a story through characters, you still got to draw that experience from somewhere, whether it's conscious or subconscious.
Yep.
And the fact that you kind of brought that up, it's like, oh, you definitely pulled something out of the deep subconscious that you weren't necessarily grasping at that point in your life, or you didn't know you were dealing with,
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's the other scary thing, is there's a lot of musicians that are depressed and they don't realize it. Like that's just all they've ever known.
Yeah.
So they don't know what it means to be happy, or, they just don't know what it means to be happy. So
yeah,
it's definitely interesting.
Yeah.
So you're keeping the full length albums that you're working on tightly under wraps, but they're coming. And then you've got the single coming out on the 18th, which is Friday, and that'll be on all streaming platforms, or what's kind of the release strategy there?
Yeah, that'll be everywhere.
Okay.
Yep.
Are you looking at doing hard copies of anything, or just straight digital?
I will have hard copies, and I will have, well, maybe not CDs, because I don't know. I feel like people just don't like. I bought CDs for my EP, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna like, people are gonna like totally want these. Like no one like basically did. So, I might order some CDs of the album, but I'm definitely getting like the records, like vinyl of my full album.
Yeah,
definitely.
That was an issue that I went through, like through the last couple of years of like really doing this podcast. I've had a lot of bands send me like demos and other stuff of their CDs. And it's like, okay, cool. And, when I go on long road trips, I'll just bring the bundle of CDs and just kind of swap them out, listen to them, because, it's a cool thing to do.
Yeah.
Back in December, I had to buy a new car because my old car just kind of died on me. And it doesn't have a CD player. So it's like, cool. Now I don't own a CD player. So I have all these CDs I can't really listen to.
Right.
But luckily, over the last couple of years, I've started investing in vinyl. You could see, right, here.
Oh yeah.
I have a vinyl player. I just realized that was sitting right over my left shoulder. I was like, oh, that's convenient. How convenient.
Yeah.
And so I've been starting to really get into vinyl. And I know it's really expensive for bands to print, especially on the independent level when you're only doing
Totally.
100, 200 print run. But when I'm at a show and I see vinyl and I can afford it, it's like, okay, here's $40 or whatever it is. I will take that. Just because.
Yeah, I mean, I think like it's because this is like a full length album and this is something that I'm really just putting everything in. I'm like, I mean, I have friends that are like, if you don't put this on vinyl, like I'm going to be pissed at you. And I'm like, okay.
Yep. I definitely enjoy it. So now that you're kind of in the final stretch of the release of Rabbit Hole, what's going through your mind is the lead up week is starting to kick off?
Yeah, I'm really excited for people to hear it and to see what they think. You know, I think when I release, you know, we always have this like release week, release day, release whatever jitters, and we're like, what if this is like too different and then they don't like me anymore, and then like all of these things that like go through the head, because like, you know, when we release music, it's like an extension of our soul, and it's we're putting our soul out there for people, and we're like, oh, like look at this pretty little piece of my soul, like don't you like it, isn't it nice? And it's like our kid, right? It's like, do you like my kid? Like I worked really hard on my kid, here's my kid. And I think like it's one thing that's been coming up for me a lot, like in general, is like validation. Like why do I guess, why do I care so much about being validated as a musician? But it's like, we want people to like, you know, it's not just music for me, I guess. I think for me, it's like that's represents like me as a person, and me as an artist, and my emotions and what I went through and sort of thing. But I think I guess I'm really excited just to get it out there to new listeners that are listening to me, and you know, taking them on a journey that I hope that they enjoy listening to.
For sure. Since you brought up the comparison and reference to music being kids, it is now time for me to ask you to pick your favorite kid.
Oh God.
What song of yours, original song that you've released, do you like performing the most?
Okay. Right now. I'm going to say it's like a tie. Can I have two songs?
Go for it.
My favorite?
Go for it.
So Bridegroom.
Okay.
That's a song off my debut album. And a song I just wrote called Garden of Babylon.
Okay. Sweet. I like putting musicians on the spot like that. And I always say perform, because performing a song is different than listening to a song.
Yes.
Performing a song, that's 100% preference based, where like you could have a song that's 3 years old, but you still love performing it.
Right.
Whereas if I were to word it like, what's your favorite song to listen to? Obviously you're going to say whatever the most recent release is or whatever the new release is, because
that's what's in your head. Yeah.
So I always make sure I word it so we try and get as honest of an answer as we can.
That's good. Yeah, I think I did pretty good at being honest.
Sweet. So kind of outside of music, like what are some of your hobbies? What do you do to get away from things? You know, when you need some Meghan time, what is your go-to?
When I need some Meghan time, I love like Netflix. I love binge watching. I love getting like just disappearing into a show. I love listening to music, obviously, hanging out with my cats and my boyfriend. Just kind of, I love nature. I love going on like, you know, hikes. Just anything nature-y. Yeah.
What's the last thing you binged on Netflix?
This show called Inventing Anna, which was really interesting.
Don't think I've heard that.
Yeah, it's like about this like girl who like scams a bunch of Manhattan like elite people. It's it's based on a true story.
Oh wow.
It's really crazy. Yeah.
Wow. I'm trying to get up to that point where I can go finish off the rest of Ozark.
Oh yeah, I finished that too.
Yeah.
Oh,
that
man.
like season I started watching like a year and a half ago. My family and I went on a vacation to Kentucky. It was like a lull in the pandemic, and it's like, you know what? We're safe to go somewhere. Let's go. We don't know. And I mean, luckily we did that, because 6 months later, my mom was diagnosed with cancer, and it's just like, you know, but during that trip, my dad was like, "Hey, have you ever watched Ozark?" And I'm like, "No, I've heard of it, but I've never watched it." And he's like, "Here, watch the first episode." And I'm like, "Okay." And so I watched the first episode. I was hooked.
So. It's crazy. Like, I feel like with that show, like, I don't even remember like finishing it. It just happened so fast.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, that's same exact boat. But now that they've released season 4, it's like, I kind of want to go back and watch season 3 just so I can kind of remember kind of what happened.
Yeah.
Because I feel like season 3 is where it started to go off the rails a little bit. So definitely gonna, over the next couple of weeks, have to get on the Ozark train and finish it off.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, man, you got to.
I just got so much going on. It's like, I don't even know where to begin. So but so we're gonna do one more thing. Kind of like what we did during the Pan Can fundraiser. We had our random question generator.
Okay.
But this time it'll be a rapid question generator.
Oh, wow.
So I'm going to just ask you a bunch of questions, and you're just going to have to answer as quickly as possible.
Okay.
All right. Would you rather eat a spider or swim with sharks?
Eat a spider.
What is... Sorry, that was just really out there. I don't even... Okay. What is one gift you would want from the person next to you, I guess? I don't know. There's nobody next to you, I don't think.
Ghost? I'd want to be invisible if it was a ghost.
Okay, perfect. I was just like, oh, I can't see that far, but it doesn't seem like there's anybody extra. What current trend can't you stand?
Okay. I guess I can't stand some of the jargon of the millennium of the Gen Zers.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
You're driving in the car with the radio cranked up super loud, and you're singing at the top of your lungs. What song is on the radio?
More Than a Feeling, Boston.
Okay, I dig it. A magazine comes to you for an interview on a magazine comes to you for an interview on a certain topic. What is that topic?
Cat breeds.
Cat breeds. Would you rather go back to age 5 with everything you know now, or know now everything your future moving forward? Okay, let me reword that, because that made no sense.
Would you? A little confusing.
Would you rather go back to the age 5 with everything that you know now, or stay at your current age but know everything about the future?
I would say go back to age 5, because it would probably stress me out to know about the future in a weird way. I don't know.
How much sawdust can you put into a Rice Krispie treat before people start to notice? Random question generator.
2 grams? I don't know.
Okay. What is the furthest lengths you've ever gone to pull off a practical joke?
Oh, wow. Um, so does that mean like how far did you get with it?
No, like how far did you go out of your way to make a joke funny?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like I do that a lot.
Gotcha.
So, yeah.
All right. And then final question. You were given $1 million. Do you save it, spend it, or give it away?
I would like to say I save it, but I probably spend it. So.
I think that's about 90% of the people that are listening right now.
Yeah.
They like to say they save it, but 9 times out of 10, it gets spent.
Yeah.
So, but it's been an absolute blast chatting with you. If people want to check out the new song or anything else you got going on, where's the best place to do that?
You can find me on all digital streaming platforms under Meghan Pullis. I recently got a new Instagram because my Instagram got hacked. So you can find my new Instagram, Meg Pullis Music. And you can go to my website, meghanpullis.com. I also have a Patreon community, patreon.com/Meghan Pullis.
How's Patreon been treating you?
Yeah, it's like up and down. Like I guess like I didn't realize like how much of a responsibility it is sometimes. And I'm like, oh, I have to do this live stream and like, oh, I'm tired. But like, yeah, so I have to push myself a little bit to like do the stuff. But
yeah, it's we have a Patreon, but I'm glad like nobody's really in there right now, because it's like the amount of times that I just got to drag myself out of bed to go to work. It's like ridiculous. So I don't know if I could handle that extra responsibility. That
it's a lot of responsibility. And I also feel like I have people who are in there that are, literally supporting me, like, and they don't really go on there. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, well, who's watching me? But
yeah, I completely get that. So, but it's been an absolute blast chatting with you. Is there anything else that you wanted to talk about that I may have forgotten, or anything else that you want to say to the viewers out there?
I guess just thank you guys for listening, and keep going through the hard times and find something in your life to give yourself self-love, because it's really important.
Absolutely. 100% agreed. Yeah. But once again, thank you so much for hanging out with us. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in, and we will catch you all later. Cool.
Sweet. That was fun.
Yeah, it was good. I was